So we will now transition to a fireside chat panel focusing on sharing forest sector DE&I successes. Representatives from different areas of the forest sector will share their experiences with DE&I and the successes they have seen within their organizations. After we've heard from each speaker, we will open the floor up for questions. And so we will begin with Dr. Asia Dowtin, who is the Assistant Professor of Urban and Community Forestry in the Department of Forestry at Michigan State University. Asia's work explores the cross-section of nature's role in urban development, specifically the relationships between forests and the development of urban forest management plans, regional water management, and hazard mitigation. So Dr. Dowtin, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Mia, and welcome to everyone who's on the call today. It's so exciting to see so many folks joining from across the country, and I think we have a great lineup of topics that we're going to cover over the next couple days. And I'm really excited to be able to share with you all what we're doing at Michigan State in the Department of Forestry with respect to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so I will pull up my PowerPoint. Let's see. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. And so today we'll take a few minutes to just talk through some of the work that we've done in our department with respect to pursuing and prioritizing diversity, equity, and inclusion in the Department of Forestry. And we'll cover some success stories, some of the internal and external forces that have driven us in the direction of pursuing these initiatives, and then also wrap up by looking at some of the lessons we've learned as a department over the past few years as we've been involved in this work. So just a brief overview of the MSU Department of Forestry. It was established in 1902, so we've got an approximately 120-year-old department. And as you can imagine, whether you're looking at an organization that has a short-term history or a long-term history, there are going to be a vast array of both challenges and opportunities that you're going to have to face and hopefully overcome in the time in which your organization is established and up in operation. And that is the same case that we've had to deal with in the department over our more than 100-year history. In the recent history, however, one of the challenges that we faced came about 20 years ago when our department noticed or experienced a decline in enrollment. And this is something that is not necessarily unique to our forestry department. As environmental science programs became more popular across the nation, sustainability programs, a lot of students coming into the university or to the various university systems began to explore interests that were perhaps a little easier for them to connect with and that seemed to have a more broad impact in forestry. And oftentimes on our campus and other campuses that resulted in students pursuing degree programs under those umbrellas, if you will, and eventually leaving forestry. And so that's something that we dealt with about a decade and a half ago and had to really become proactive and strategic in finding a way to combat that decline in our students and external pressures to maybe dissolve the department due to those declining numbers. And so that put the faculty and department leadership at that time in the position to really think about how do we broaden the scope of what we offer students as a department. And part of broadening that scope was not limiting it to specifically focusing on different academic programs that we can offer within the department, but also thinking about broadening participation in our student body, broadening the representation of students in our department. Starting at the undergraduate level and working its way straight through our PhD programs. And so with that in mind, there became a shift in the departmental culture, motivated by both internal initiatives and external or institutional influences. And that shift was really, well, specifically with respect to DEI, was focused on several things. First and foremost, relating to the targeted recruitment and retention of traditionally underrepresented students in our department. And then ensuring that once we put the effort in to recruit students and retain them, that there was also a concurrent effort being made to create a culture within the department that supported the success academically of these students, but also the mental, psychological, and personal well-being of them while they were enrolled or are enrolled in our program. And part of working towards that latter goal was ensuring that we had a DEI committee in place in the department that was is able to address DEI needs and concerns as they arise, both proactively and when need be, reactively, to help ensure that our students, again, continue to thrive within our department. I wanted to note that we have our DEI committee. It's been active for several years now. And one of the aspects of this committee that I believe has made it successful is that it is not one that's run from a necessarily top-down approach, but rather one that is inclusive of all of the members, all the populations, if you will, that comprise our department. So you see representation on that committee from our faculty, our students, and our staff. And I think that that is really done a phenomenal job at laying the foundation for folks to feel like they can not only have a place within the department, but have a say in continuing to shape departmental culture, regardless of where they may be in their academic or professional journeys. Outside of our department, excuse me, a lot of our work has been supported by and in part motivated by and to an extent directed by some of the work that's been happening at the college level. So MSU Department of Forestry is housed within the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources on our campus. And over the course of the past half to full decade, the College of Ag and Natural Resources has made significant investment in advancing DEI initiatives within the college and letting that serve as a model for work that could be done at the university level. And so one of the big moves that was made in our college towards this end goal was actually establishing a position of an associate dean for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'm so sorry, I'm going to take a quick sip of water. So we had, or we have, a DEI associate dean who assumed that role approximately 3.5 years ago, and has done phenomenal work in advancing college level initiatives. With the work that he has done in that role, there have been accountability standards that have been set up that we as a department have been faithful in following. And I won't give a laundry list of those standards, but one of them is related to our hiring practices. And so when we have any new role that is going to be published or publicized for accepting of applications, whoever will sit on that hiring committee will need to undergo DEI training. And for applicants applying for those roles, they are responsible, or they will have to submit as a part of their application a statement on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and their personal perspectives and related work in that area. And in addition to that, we have, sorry, I've got something blocking the bottom part. And we've been very consistent as a department in making sure that we are undergoing DEI trainings as they are made available through our college. And so over the course of the past academic year, one of the trainings that we underwent collectively as a department was one on unconscious bias and language training. And I think that, this just provides us with an opportunity to sort of check ourselves, see where we stand, and modify our practices to ensure that we're continuing to make space for DEI and an inclusive environment for our students and faculty. Okay, so what does this look like in terms of recruitment and retention of our students? And to be honest with you, what it looks like is really shaped by many of the strategic partnerships that we've been able to develop over the past year. CJ mentioned the importance of building relationships in this work, and we as a department have learned that that is really what helps to ensure that what you're doing is done both through motivation of a vision that you've been able to develop and work towards, but also one that really exists with the communities that you intend to connect with and work with in related DEI works. And so I'll just briefly go through some of the recruitment, retention, and workforce development partnerships that we've been able to form at different levels of the game, if you will. So in connecting and trying to connect with K through 12 students who may hopefully become future Spartans studying forestry, we've had a plethora of partnerships that have grown through the years, many with our partners on campus, like various staff within the College of Ag and Natural Resources, but also with partner organizations across the state, many of which are located in Detroit, including University Prep Science and Math High School, Ecotech, the Urban Neighborhood Initiative, and the Green Door Initiative. Once we were successful in connecting with these potential Spartans and getting them on campus and they enroll in our undergraduate programs, we have additional programs that we do to create pathways for them to receive additional training or targeted workforce development related training. And these programs are specifically developed with the intention of connecting with and providing educational and workforce development training for diverse students. And so we have partnerships with Bay College up in the UP of Michigan, Muskegon Community College in the state, as well as ISA Michigan, which is our state's chapter of the International Society of Arboriculture. But our efforts to recruit and retain diverse undergraduate students extends beyond the state of Michigan. And so we have a partnership right now with Medgar Evers College in New York City. And that partnership is supported through a significant grant that allowed us to create a 3+2 program. And through that 3+2 program, we're able to work with students so that they can complete 3 years of school in New York, come up to us in Michigan, and complete an additional 2 years, within which they would complete both their bachelor's degree and a master's degree. And then for our internal students, we have a multicultural scholars program through which they're able to receive mentorship and support for internships as they progress through their degree. For our graduate students, we have received support through the National Needs Fellowship to recruit and retain diverse graduate students, bridging the gap from their earning of a bachelor's at another program to completing a PhD with us. And within our university, the graduate school has a lot of programs in place to support the recruitment and retention of diverse students. And so we partner with them through the Summer Research Opportunities Program, as well as motivate or encourage many of our students to participate in AGAP, which is the Alliance for Graduate Education and the Professorate. It's a dedicated program on our campus that works with training diverse students who are interested in pursuing careers in academia. And last but not least, there's been work in our department to partner with the DNR to provide support for faculty positions that have a partial focus on working with increasing diversity of those communities that engage with our forests here in Michigan, with specific emphasis on urban forests. And so all these partnerships, all this internal change, what does it look like in terms of success? Well, we've had evidence, some of which has become very evident in the past 5 years. We've had a notable increase in the enrollment of our diverse students. And so now the majority of our graduate students are students of color, first time in the history, more than 100-year history of our department. Outside of that, we've raised successfully more than $1.5 million in funding to support these DEI initiatives. That includes some of the programs with the community colleges here in Michigan, our school in New York, and then the support for students coming through the Multicultural Scholars Program and NNF. I'm sorry, National Needs Fellowship Program. We're continuing to collaborate with partners across the state and across the country and building these programs that allow for our students to be successful once they reach our campus. And then we have been successful in achieving college level recognition for our DEI related goals. This year, we received the Gold Award for our efforts in this realm. So lessons learned and moving forward, a lot of this success has come from not just working towards a goal, but also continuously checking in. So we've learned that the importance of checking the temperature of the department, when issues have arisen that have affected particular diverse communities, we've made time and space for concerns to be aired and potential solutions to be strategized. We've also learned that it is important to prioritize and be open to both receiving continuous training and being held accountable. Having those standards really gives us a framework within which to properly move forward in moving towards these goals. And last but not least, there's just so much value in identifying and collaborating with partners with whom you share common DEI goals and interests. And again, it's important to carve out that mission for yourself as an organization, but it is just as important to figure out who's doing the work on the ground or who has similar goals, and then identify ways that you can work together. And so I'll stop there and thank you all for your time and look forward to chatting a little later.
Thank you, Dr. Dowtin.